since the Falcons made the pick last month. How is it all going to work throughout this summer and this year?
Listen, you don't invest the money in Kirk Cousins that the Atlanta Falcons did and not expect him to be the starter. But here's the issue, Dan. If Michael Penix all of a sudden lights it up, this drama isn't going away. There's going to be more questions about when and if Michael Penix is going to play, because it wasn't like he was a second-round pick or a third. He was the 8th overall pick in the draft. And usually, top 10 picks find their way onto the football field sooner rather than later. And so if Michael Penix is what the Falcons thought, then we may get some of those questions sooner than people expected or thought. But the fact of the matter is they have a stabilizing force in Kirk Cousins, who they paid $100 million in guaranteed money, who you know is a 4-time Pro Bowl quarterback. And what did Kirk Cousins say about that quarterback room? It's a major force. Well, there are major forces at play here with the quarterback position. But as it's going to work, Kirk Cousins is a starter. Michael Penix is the 2. They have depth at a position where they haven't had depth since they traded away Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts. They fortified that position, but it doesn't mean that the drama is just going to go away once the regular season rolls around.
And that's the question, right? Cousins can say all he wants. It's a working force. We're working for each other. And that sounds great, Tim, but like as somebody who's been in quarterback rooms in the NFL, what is that dynamic going to be like?
Well, I think the dynamic that Kirk's referring to is like what he expects the attitude of the quarterback room to be. And he's obviously going to set it as the starter, as the veteran. And, you know, when he talked about it being a working force for one another and it being that way throughout his career, look, it probably hasn't been that way every single year, but I think it has been for the most part. And I think he understands that the quarterbacks will all play better when they get their opportunity, when it's the right dynamic. And Kirk has the right approach for it. And I think the way that he answered questions about this, I think give you a little bit of a glimpse into the type of guy he will be in the quarterback room. Like, that's the reality of it. He's been around long enough to see when it works well and when it doesn't. And I think he also knows this. He's a master of this offense. He could coach this offense. He knows that he's going to play well in this offense with the guys around him. And so he can say all of that with confidence and not having to look over his shoulders. And the contract obviously helps as well.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this. Right. The Falcons obviously definitely did something that I think was a very unique decision to make. I get a lot of Falcons fans are saying, well, it's okay because they got Kirk Cousins for the now and Penix for the future. I'm not here to rehash that, whether or not drafting Penix was the right play after especially signing Kirk Cousins. But I just want to emphasize that I think Kirk Cousins is a really, really, really good quarterback. He's a good to great quarterback, depending on the circumstance. Kirk Cousins has not had the luxury of having these great teams and great coaches around him that we have seen these other teams and these other quarterbacks have. I've talked about this with Trevor Lawrence. Like, he has not had the luxury of having the Shanahans or the McVays of the world, or having an elite OC like a Ben Johnson. He did finally get someone who finally is competent, but going through their own growing pains in Minnesota. And he's only had so many elite weapons. And when he's finally has a good offensive mind and good weapons, he balls out. He is a really, really good to great quarterback, which he was showing not only with the Commanders or whatever they were going by at that time, but as well with Minnesota. And the Vikings, without a doubt, from my viewpoint. And I think the Falcons have a legitimate roster, and they are lacking a quarterback. Kirk Cousins is a seasoned veteran. He is the pure definition of a pro. So he knows exactly what needs to be done. There are no learning curves for him. There's going to be lots of learning curves and ups and downs for Michael Penix Jr. That's just a reality. That's like that for every single young quarterback. Every single quarterback. There's a reason why Patrick Mahomes sat out for an entire year. It takes time. It takes time. Patrick Mahomes is still learning, okay? So if you have a ready-made roster, a roster that can win games, can win your division, can make some noise, then Kirk Cousins should without a doubt be the starter. because you're going to consistently be able to win. Unless Penix just completely lights the world on fire, right? And he has just balling out and Kirk Cousins has just not recovered from the Achilles, then obviously, then sure, bring out Penix. But I just think that Penix can learn a ton from Kirk Cousins. He really can. I understand Kirk Cousins isn't this bona fide Hall of Famer, but he can learn how to be a pro, preparation. He can learn a lot. Kirk Cousins has had a lot of success in the NFL and has made a lot of money, and it's not by luck. It's not just because, well, we need to pay someone. A lot of teams want Kirk Cousins. Ask Shanahan. Shanahan has been dying to get a Kirk Cousins. He's very high on Kirk Cousins, and I trust Shanahan's football mind way more than my own. So I just think that the Falcons, you start Kirk Cousins, you're not going to go through some of the same growing pains, some of the same rookie mistakes that, of course, Penix will have. Like I said, any quarterback, any young rookie quarterback will have. And if you have Kirk Cousins and he's actually healthy and you're playing, you're going to win games. I think you're going to win the division. I really, really do. I think you're going to get to the playoffs. And then depending on the seeding, like, you can win a couple playoff games. Like, Kirk Cousins is legit. He is again, let me say it one more time. He is a really good to great quarterback. So if you're a Falcons fan, you should be excited to have Kirk out there because you finally have a quarterback that is calm, cool, and collected, that knows what to do in virtually every single scenario. Doesn't mean that he's going to succeed in every single scenario, but he knows what to do. He is a bona fide pro, and that's something that you definitely have been lacking. And Penix is definitely the newer, shinier toy, but it takes a second. It takes a minute, and you don't have the same problem. Now that you already have Penix, it's okay to win some games with Kirk and maybe not win a Super Bowl, because now you would be like, well, that's going to ruin our draft spot. What are we going to do? Because we need to, Kirk is not our long-term play. We need a better quarterback to actually finally win a Super Bowl. You theoretically already have that taken care of. So draft order now, it's important. You obviously still want to draft higher than anything, or lower, however you want to look at it, But it's better than not having a quarterback, having Kirk Cousins, winning enough games where now you don't get a good enough draft pick, where you never get a good transformative franchise-changing quarterback, and you believe you have that in Penix. So then you are in a great situation to let Penix learn for a year. And I know he's older, so I feel like since you've already paid Kirk Cousins all this money, I think at the very least you sit Penix for an entire year and you have Kirk go. And if you're winning games and you're actually now like potentially Super Bowl bound or competing in the playoffs, it's like, well, then, don't rock that boat just yet. And if you say, all right, Penix is really coming along nicely, he's getting it, he's learning, he knows how to be a pro, he's a year older now, he's more mature, then you can kind of do a similar thing of what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith. Alex Smith played great the year before Patrick Mahomes stepped in. So you are learning. Make no mistake, Patrick Mahomes learned a ton from Alex Smith. People also like to just kind of cast Alex Smith to the side as just kind of like he wasn't able to do anything. And it's like, again, we can't have the frame of reference where we say a quarterback is either winning like 5 Super Bowls or they're garbage. It seems like that's what we do right now. It's kind of like, you're not a good quarterback unless you win 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls. And it's like, all right, there's levels to this. Alex Smith was a great quarterback. Yes. Did he not win 3 Super Bowl MVPs? He did not, okay? He is not as good as Patrick Mahomes. You're right. And he's not as good as Tom Brady. Doesn't mean that he was not also a great quarterback in his own right. So I think that's kind of a similar situation that you're having with Kirk Cousins. And I think it's also beneficial for a player like a Penix to learn from a quarterback who's not only competent and knows what they're doing, but also see how he's running a functional offense. A lot of times, sometimes a quarterback can sit behind a starter who's maybe good, but the team isn't good. And so you don't really get the full picture of what to do. You're watching a good quarterback maybe fail, right? And you can still learn his preparation. You're still learning in the QB room. Like, there's still a lot to learn and a lot to mature, but it is definitely a different experience when you actually see someone like a Kirk Cousins or Alex Smith actually be successful within this offense. And then if you are indeed a better player, you're able to see this is what I can do a little bit differently. This is how I can elevate. This is how we can, marginally improve at the quarterback position, which will then take us to the next level. It's a lot harder to do when you're just watching tape of just disaster after disaster, right? When you're just watching your O-line give up sack after sack after sack, when your wide receivers can't get open. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot harder to learn from that film when you're when you're an up and coming quarterback learning, rather than watching tape of Alex Smith or Kirk Cousins succeeding in the offense, which I think is very valuable. I think it's incredibly valuable. So you just also have to trust, though, that the coaches know how to handle that situation, and they are theoretically unproven. Although I do believe that the OC should be a dark horse for a pretty great OC with the Atlanta Falcons. I think he came from Sean McVay or Shanahan. I forget. Memory is slipping me right now. I believe it was Sean McVay. So I'm pretty excited to see how that unfolds. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys think? Should Kirk Cousins start, or do you think they should throw in Penix? How do you think they should handle this situation? How long would you sit Penix if you do? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.